Good morning. Rehab and Social Services will come to order. So great to have a committee that always starts on time, right? So I appreciate you guys. You're very punctual. I will ask the clerk to open the roll so we may take a roll call.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We do have a few housekeeping items. And I will say that several bills on our docket are similar, not just similar, some are identical to bills that we have passed in the Senate, so that should enable us to move quickly. There are two bills before us that do need to be re-referred to the Judiciary Committee. So I will I can do one motion to re-refer both bills. One bill is House Bill 33. Was the parole exception to limitation on the application of parole status. The second bill is HB 35, and it has to do with juvenile offenders and parole. Do I need to go?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Move to
Senator McPike.
re-refer House Bill 33, House Bill 35 in a block to the Committee on Judiciary.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, please vote on the board.
Ten ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, very well. 10 ayes, 0 nays. We have something a little unique today. A gentleman has been preparing comments on one of these bills, and as a courtesy, I will ask the committee if you are willing to listen to this gentleman's story for no longer than 4 minutes. He has written his statement expecting to present it to our committee. The bill's been re-referred. So with your consent, Senator.
Someone has to put another place at 9 o'clock now. And they say 4 minutes, a lot of politicians say 4 minutes, they take 10 minutes.
Well, we will have the timer on, so thank you. I think he's out, and it's possible we can take some notes. Okay, you may come forward, and please state your name and where you are from, and we will put you on a 4-minute timer. We do thank you for your interest in our topics today. Welcome.
Thank you very much for your consideration. My name is Scott Campbell. I'm from Bristol, Virginia. Even though this bill is being referred to a new committee, I couldn't help but notice that the name of this committee is Rehabilitation and Social Services. I don't know if anyone on this committee is a student of evolutionary behavioral psychology, but if any of you are, I would ask that you take some time to let me inform you of some of the most recent activities of one of the offenders in your custody at the end of this hearing. I cannot say this positively because I'm not sure it can even be known, but I'm pretty sure that this individual is the most dangerous human that you currently have in custody in your prison system. As I said, my name is Scott Campbell, but that's not what's really important. I'm the nephew of Anna Jean Anderson, who was a victim of one of the most violent and abhorrent crimes ever recorded in this state on September the 4th, 1996. Her killer has been incarcerated in the Virginia prison system for 23 years, serving a life sentence without parole that was adjudicated in its totality on August the 27th, 1998. One of the things that I came here today to hear was that evidently the state of Virginia has rehabilitation of this type of offender scienced down right down to a window of somewhere between 20 and 25 years. And that margin is apparently going to be decided by Delegate Joe Lindsay and Senator Marsden at some type of a conference at either on Monday or Tuesday of next week. I haven't been able to get anybody in this building to confirm or deny that despite trying for the last 4 days. I guess at this point I would just ask the Rehabilitation Committee, what exactly are the qualifications of Delegate Lindsay and Senator Marsden for deciding this issue without the input and oversight of the Rehabilitation and Social Services Committee? And if you can't tell me that, why are you deferring from subject matter experts to individuals with political motivation potentially to decide something so important? Thank you for your time. There's your extra minute 45, Senator Sproul.
Thank you. And making laws is a process, and passing a bill is only a first step. There'll be the parole board and many other individuals with expertise involved in that bill, and actually, if that bill were to pass, into regulating and providing guidelines. Thank you for your time. Okay, colleagues, the first bill before us, and when the House bills were identical to Senate bills, if the patron called me, I advised them they did not have to attend if they had conflicts. So, HB 598, Alcohol Beverage Control Annual Mixed Beverage Performing Arts Facility License. We heard this. It is identical to Senate Bill 212. So, thank you. And is there a second? Okay, clerk, please open the roll.
11 ayes, 1 nay.
Okay, next bill, that's Senator Spruill.
Madam Chair, I have the process for something loud. I forgot to push it.
Okay,
You did, thank you.
you've got it, okay. Next bill before us is House Bill 778, patron is Delegate Jones, and it is identical to Senate Bill 412. Senator Marsden's bill, it has to do with family assessments and the timeline. Could I have a motion? Okay,
Second.
motion has been made and seconded. Will the clerk please open the roll?
Thirteen ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. Okay, we now have House Bill 949, Patrons Delegate Wiebert, and it is identical to Senate Bill 689 from Senator Vogel. Has to do with alcoholic beverage control and the privileges of a local special events license.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Clerk, please open the roll.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay. House Bill 1006, patron is Delegate Herring, and is identical to Senate Bill 706 from Senator Obenshain. Has to do with human trafficking assessments by our local departments.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Clerk, please open the roll.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you for joining us, Delegate Herring. We have House Bill 1187. Patron is Delegate Wampler. It is identical to Senate Bill 824, Senator Ruff's bill. Topic is alcoholic beverage control, online sales of spirits by the Virginia Alcohol Beverage Control Authority.
Second.
Madam Chair,
Motion has been made and seconded. Senator McPike.
question of the patron. There might be some issues on this one real quick. Madam Chair.
Delegate Wampler, welcome. Senator
Madam-
McPike.
Excuse me, what is his name? I haven't seen him before. What is his
Delegate
name?
Wampler.
Oh, it's the delegate. I'm sorry. I didn't
Will
know who you were.
Wampler, good to see you this morning.
Welcome to the Senate Rehab and Social Services Committee.
Great to be
Senator
here.
McPike.
Madam
You
Chair.
now have the floor.
Question to the patron. Is this your first bill presented to the Virginia State Senate?
Madam Chair, Senator McPike, this is my first bill in front of the Senate.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair,
Senator DeSteph.
could this bill go by temporarily? Just temporarily. I just want to check one little thing.
They're adjusting to their caffeine deprivation, but we'll get on board soon. Would you like to explain your bill, Delegate Wampler?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Madam Chair. House Bill 1187 amends 4.1-119. It's an ABC section relating to government stores, which are also distillery stores referenced throughout the code. What the bill would do is allow for the government stores or distillery stores to market and sell their products online, which would allow for our distilleries from across Virginia. They're Northern Virginia, Central Virginia, Southwest, South Side, and Hampton Roads all across. I think we have 58 in total. It would allow them to sell their products online and deliver to Virginians that are over the age of 21. And that is really the skinny of the bill. That's what the bill does.
Thank you, Delegate Wampler. It was a
Madam
good
Chair.
presentation. Senator Spruill.
How old are you, son?
Madam Chair, Senator Spurl, 28 years old.
28. I got
Perhaps we
I
should
got
keep
I
our
got
questions to the
I got you
bill.
about 35.
Madam Chair,
Senator McPike.
question for the patron. As conceived under this bill, with technology emerging, is it possible that, one could deliver said new moonshine or whatever spirits you're trying to hawk across Virginia, and deliver those by drone without checking ID?
Madam Chair, Senator McPike, drones are not contemplated in this bill. This only allows for ABC to select a common carrier as approved by the ABC board to deliver these goods. So it would really be up to the Beverage Control Board in this case.
Madam
Senator
Chair,
McPike.
one quick question and then a motion.
Senator DeSteph, and then Senator Kiggins, and then Senator Chapin, and that's the order. And then we are going to be very polite to this delegate.
Madam Chair, I'll wait and go last then.
Senator Kiggins, and then Senator Chapin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have actually a kind of serious question. I'm a mom to 3 teenagers and 1 preteen. And how does this bill, or how can you ensure that if it's delivered to my home, those kids won't have access to it? Is there a signature required of the person who actually ordered the product, or what's that process like?
Thank you. Madam Chair, Senator Kiggins, and good to see you. I don't believe we've had the chance to meet. The issue for underage delivery. The bill tries to work against that by requiring the common carrier to deliver the good only to someone 21 years of age or older. So you have to ask for identification. There's conspicuous text on the package that says it contains alcohol and must be taken or received by someone older than 21.
All right, 2 more questions I will allow. Okay, Senator Chapin, and then Senator DeSteph.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So first, I'd like to comment and say there are some areas in the Commonwealth that have a long history of delivering moonshine in a very, very efficient way. And this bill does not contemplate those types of delivery methods. However, I also want to comment and say that Delegate Wampler, though he may appear youthful to the panel, he has a long legacy in his family of public service.
Moonshine.
And has a public service, Senator Spruill, and he also has been doing some very good and serious work out in his district that I'm familiar with, and he's welcome, and I welcome him to this committee. I don't have a question. I just have a comment.
Okay, Senator DeSteph.
Real quick question and then I have a motion, Madam Chair. Delegate Wampler, if I'm on the Spearhead Trails, would I prefer wine, cider, or other spirits?
Madam Chair, Senator DeSteph, if you find this bill favorable, you'll be able to get any of them delivered to your house and enjoy beer, wine, cider, or a distilled spirit in Virginia should this pass. So we saw it as a level playing field bill. And if you're on the Spearhead Trails, I would say you can find any of the above somewhere in Wise, Dickinson, or Russell County.
Madam Chair, with that, I'd like to make a motion on this fine American bill. I'd like to make a motion to report.
Second.
Second. Okay, a motion has been made and seconded. Senator Servo, did you have a comment? Okay. Welcome to our committee.
Thank you.
Will the clerk please open the roll? Motion has been made and seconded. Again, this is identical to Senator Ruff's Bill 824.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
Your bill passes. Okay, now we've got one similar bill from Delegate Watts, and it is House Bill 1328. And your bill is similar to Senator Boysko's and Senator Hanger's bill, Senate Bill 656. Could you maybe just explain to us the difference?
There are some differences that I think are probably just fine as far as the improvements of exactly how we treat some of the way in which the confidentiality of this information and all of that structure sounds good. I mean, as I've looked at it, I can't tell the difference between the references. So the two substantive differences are one that at the request of jails, I believe it was, my notes are impartial, only partial but handwritten, that at the request, it's 2 years of health records to be shared, and that it is to come at the request of the facility of the jail. And I think that was more from the community services boards were concerned that they didn't have the obligation that every time a person was brought into a jail or regional facility, that they had the obligation to track and provide the records, but rather the obligation would be from the facility to request the records, and there's clarification in the wording that says that it could be anyone from the facility, so it doesn't have to be the sheriff or the chief administrator of the facility. So that's the difference. 2 years of records rather than only 1 year of records, and the records provided at the request of the facility.
Senator Boysko.
Thank you, Delegate Watts. My original bill was also for 2 years, so I'm happy to see that piece be included in yours. And I think the concern that we initially had and has been expressed was that the healthcare providers didn't feel that they had the authority to share. So I'm happy with that. If that's
If I may respond,
Delegate
Madam
Watts?
Chairman, I am perfect. That's what I tried to mumble to start. I have no problem with all of the wording such as has been developed by the Senate on the framework of the legality of the sharing and the liability and issues. I think we're very, very parallel, and it's just a matter of wording. No problem at all with the Senate version. I would prefer to keep the 2 years and also believe it is important to say it's at the request of, and the obligation isn't to know and provide.
So the issue before us is whether you would like to conform to the Senate bill. It sounds like you'd like to keep your distinctive differences.
Or because it's morning, let's do that, and we can work it out in conference. And when it comes
Okay.
over to the House side, we'll insert it properly, and then we'll just go into conference on both bills and blend them properly.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I agree. I think we
Senator
can work this out in conference, and happy to see your bill moved forward, and thank you for carrying it.
Madam Chair, I'd like to conform and re-refer to finance.
Let me ask staff if that's the appropriate. I think there might be interest on the committee in keeping Delegate Watts' bill moving forward. So what would you consider the
Madam Chair,
appropriate?
if I may, if we keep this bill moving forward and we have the other bill moving forward, then they both pass, then they both go over to the governor's office, and then it's figured out in the governor's office. If we want it to go to
That's not so.
conference, then we have to have them conform, and then when it goes back to the House, they can reject our amendments and then throw it into conference the way that Delegate Watts, I believe, is asking for. So, Madam Chair, that's why I suggested we conform and re-refer to finance, because the other two bills both went to finance as well for financial impact. But the way to get it to the position that Delegate Watts is suggesting, we have to conform first.
I will ask staff to confirm that explanation.
Madam Chair?
Excuse me, Senator Spruill, let me hear from staff, and then I'll call on you.
Okay.
Mr. May.
Madam Chair, so that would be correct. The way to get this bill into conference, if that was the goal, would be to conform the bill to Senator Boysko and Hanger's version of Senate Bill 656, send it back to the House. It's my understanding there's some split of opinion at this point, so we'll see what the House does with the Senate version. I will say, just to clarify, the 1 to 2 year difference is really, it's not about 1 or 2 years worth of records. It's about how long ago did this healthcare provider provide services to this person now incarcerated before, in order to trigger the records being sent. The next difference is about, as the delegate pointed out, whether the records are to be sent upon the request of the local correctional facility or whether they'll be sent automatically. And the third difference is, if you look on line let's see, it's right towards the end here, 53 to 54. The Senate version gives to a healthcare provider for sending records in accordance with the provisions of the bill civil immunity, simple civil immunity absent bad faith or malicious intent. But under the terms of the House bill, it also extends immunity for liability encountered under the Federal Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So it's giving immunity from potential HIPAA violation.
I think there's absolutely value in having both of these bills in play. Okay, a motion has been made to conform this bill and re-refer it to finance, and there's a second. Senator Sproul.
A couple of questions. Is there a physical impact on this? Is there a physical impact?
Yet the other bill was re-referred.
Madam Chairman.
Wait a minute.
I'm looking right here.
Senator Sproul, you have the
My
floor.
question, because the chair of finance was saying that we keep sending all these bills up there. She got a whole lot of bills up there. And it looked like to me, whenever we want to get rid of something, we send it to finance, knowing that she had said to us, I got all these bills, I'm trying to put them in a certain class. I just want to make sure that this one legitimately should go to finance, just not send up there to kill it.
There will be,
Madam Chairman.
Senator Sproul, there will be time in Senate Finance to do this, since this is a House bill. They're working on Senate bills right now. There is a legitimate fiscal impact.
Madam Chairman.
Senator.
Yeah, the fiscal impact statement says it needs a budget amendment, and it looks, at least on here, about $400,000 or $500,000 of fiscal impacts over 6 years.
Yeah, there is a fiscal impact. Okay, colleagues, there's a motion, a second. It's before the bill's before us. Again, it's to conform and re-refer to finance. Will the clerk open the roll? Okay, to conform it, we are going to have to. Was your motion to?
I'll renew my motion to
Adopt the
conform,
substitute.
Adopt the substitute, conform, re-refer to finance.
Okay, and there's a second.
Second.
Okay, the clerk, please open the roll.
Okay. 13 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee, and especially thank you, Senator Sproul, for not asking how old I was.
Thank you, Delegate Watts. Okay, we're now on which we are calling unique bills, which I think is interesting. Let's see who our patrons are. Delegate Collins, you have House Bill 94.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. My very unique bill solves a very unique problem. This is a adoption notification amendment to the code. The problem we're trying to solve is there was a situation where a family was killed in a car crash. Their minor child was then placed with a family through Child Protective Services, and another family member then filed adoption papers. The court then granted said adoption to the family that did not have the child, and so then the family that had custody of the child was removed and placed with the other family, and they received no notice. So all this bill does is say, it puts no new onus on CPS or DSS or anything like that. It just puts an onus on the moving party asking for adoption, that if the child is in custody of somebody else, that party get notice of the adoption proceeding, or if there's a party already in litigation during the custody visitation, that they also receive notice, which you would have thought would have been normal practice, but an adoption filing in the circuit court is a separate action, and so there was no notice requirement other than to the natural parents. And if the natural parents are deceased, the court just says, well, there's no notice needed, so I'm going to grant the adoption. And so this solves that problem. And that's an actual case.
That's an actual case. This seems very straightforward. Colleagues, do you have any questions of the patron? You do have a speaker, Mr. Palmer?
Just to say that this is a recommendation of the Virginia Family Law Coalition.
Yeah, this is a very good
I'm glad I
bill.
didn't ruin it. I just, Thank you.
Motion has been made and seconded to report the bill. Clerk, please open the roll.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee.
Thank you so much. I don't see Delegate Hope here.
Delegate Bell.
Delegate Bell.
Madam Chair, he is the chair of the Public Safety Committee, may have something else on his plate this morning. Madam Chair, I'm here on House Bill 369.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, as you are presumably aware, when someone is sentenced to a sentence at a jail, whether it be a local jail or a regional jail, they can and often are placed on work release. And as an additional option under the work release program is something called a furlough. The furlough can be granted to give them a chance to visit their home or their family. And this is an unusual issue where there was an inmate at a regional jail and was on work release and was given the furlough. The furlough was to a place not served by the regional jail, and the sheriff in the locality where he was served asked to be notified of that before it happened and give permission. The sheriff's, this is a request of the Sheriff's Association who's here, and if you'd like to hear more details of what happened, I'm happy to, he's here to testify if you'd like to hear from him.
Colleagues, do you have any questions of the patron? Hearing none. Mr. Jones, please come forward.
Good morning, Madam Chairman and members of the committee. This is supported by the Sheriff's Association. It came from one of the sheriffs that he found out there was an inmate from another regional jail catchment area that was put on furlough in his area without an ankle bracelet or tracking. And of course, he got a little bit upset about it. He was afraid the inmate was going to become involved in a current investigation. So the local chief of police and the sheriff got involved, and it went to the regional jail that they serve, and they rejected the furlough after that. But we found out that it can happen, and it's drawn very narrowly to only affect inmates that go out of the catchment area of the regional jail. If they want to do it within their own area, they can do it. With that, this bill would not affect it. It would only affect sheriffs that are not served by the regional jail.
Madam Chair.
Senator Sproul.
So right now, without this incident happening, when the inmate is on furlough, how they are approved right now to get out furlough?
So the jail administrator who runs typically the work release program doesn't have to be, but that can then be the same person that approves them for weekend furlough. So mama passes, or even just, it's been 2 months and the jail thinks they're doing fine, they can give them weekend furlough. They don't get credit for the time, but they travel. So my regional jail, I've got 2 of them. One is about 7 counties. The sheriffs are on the board, so as long as it's in that same area, it doesn't matter. This wouldn't affect it. But if, think a funeral in Chesapeake. So the uncle passes in Chesapeake and they want to go to Chesapeake, the idea would be that they would call the Chesapeake sheriff and say, he's coming.
Madam Chair,
Senator Sproul.
The supervisor, whatever you call them, that had this program, they do not have to inform that sheriff?
Not currently, and that's what this would be to address.
Thank you.
This is sort of articulating regional cooperation. Yes, Senator Chapin, and who else? Senator Chapin, go ahead, and Senator Morrissey.
Delegate Bell, so
yes, sir.
We have some counties that operate a work service program, community service program. This type of permissive issue would not affect those programs, would it?
I don't see any way that this would, except for the true furlough.
Yes, these are not, the type of programs I'm talking about are not furloughs. They're under supervision.
Madam Chair, I would say that may be a good idea, may not be in terms of something like this, but this is just for the furlough program.
I have a question as well, but I'll defer to Senator Morrissey.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
This is either to the patron or to John. The purpose of a furlough normally is so that the individual can go visit a family member, can attend a funeral, can do something like that. Are we in agreement?
Yes, sir.
All right. What your bill seeks to address, if I have this, is the following, and correct me if I'm wrong. First of all, it affects a regional jail like Riverside Regional Jail only. Riverside Regional Jail has a population of people from all over. Several different local jails will send their people to a regional jail. This bill addresses...
Madam Chair, there's one additional, you're 90% right, there's an additional group that is making it different. May I add something to what you're saying?
Sure.
There are also regional jails that are not catchments for other jails, but are simply the place people go. It would apply to them as well.
Right. Now, what you want to do in this bill is if the official at the regional jail grants a furlough, but that furlough goes beyond the area served by the regional jail, you want the sheriff in the area to which the person is furloughed to also have approval?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the purpose of the bill.
I'm just thinking, I mean, practically it makes sense, but I can think of so many potential problems where you do not get that
Right, approval.
approval up the chain. The person is supposed to go to a funeral or something like that. It simply doesn't come down the chain of command from the other sheriff and preventing that person from going to the funeral or whatever. Do you see the problem that I'm concerned about?
I'll talk to you, but go ahead. No.
I think,
Yes, Mr. Jones.
Madam Chairman and
Yes.
Senator Marcy, it says subject to the approval, so the sheriff would be notified. And if it was a funeral outside of the service area of the regional jail, yeah, the sheriff would want to know.
Yes, he's going to.
The idea behind it was that we didn't want inmates showing up without any supervision, without people knowing about it and approving it.
Okay, if that's, for the question, if that's the purpose, you don't want them to show up without any notice, why not simply have in lines 16 and 17
Inform.
that the sheriff in the jurisdiction be notified that a furlough has been granted, as opposed to what you have in 16 and 17, that sheriff has to also grant approval?
We want approval because there may be a situation going on in that locality in which the inmate could have been involved in crime.
Right. Question for the patron.
Yes, sir.
Delegate Bell.
Okay, I have an
Delegate, do you see what I'm trying to
I do,
get
I do.
at?
Yes,
I'm concerned about the following. This bill goes far beyond simply notifying that other sheriff.
That's right.
It says you, on line 17, shall be subject to approval, and my concern is that sheriff either doesn't get it or gets it and it sits in a pile of incoming mail and it doesn't get approved.
So,
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Delegate Bell.
if I might address the gentleman's thoughts. So there are three possible policy decisions, and ultimately it's a policy decision. The first would be it's current law. We don't notify. It's a decision made by the regional jail. They've got people. They know the guy. He's been in jail for a while. They should make the call. The second would be what the gentleman describes. I think it's fair to say that would be an improvement over current law, but it doesn't give the receiving sheriff a veto. This would actually give a veto, as you say. It allows him to give permission. And what you have and it might be nearby, it might be the adjoining county, it might be, of course, where the crime was otherwise committed or there's other reasons, and the local sheriff says, this is going to raise issues the regional jail didn't know about. Maybe the family has, funeral's a good example, funerals are fraught with emotion, maybe there's a really good reason to come, maybe we need to have a deputy there, maybe this is a place we just can't say yes or we want some additional conditions. That's the bill, and bringing this was not from something from local to me, I was bringing it on behalf of the Sheriff's Association. They would prefer the as written consent. I assume they would prefer permission to nothing, but it's the will of the Senate committee.
I
that would be
appreciate
that
your
ends.
explanation. I'm an amendment. Madam.
Senator Morrissey, yes, offer an amendment.
To staff, do you see where it says on line 16, the last words, then the furlough shall be subject to approval by the sheriff of such locality? My amendment is going to be a medium ground, and that then the furlough shall be granted so long as the other sheriff is notified. It addresses your concern, both the patron and Mr. and Sheriff Jones, but it doesn't give them, as Delegate Bell said, a veto. So that's my amendment, so that other sheriff is notified and it can be added to that.
Madam Chair, on that.
There's an amendment before us. Is there a second?
Second question.
Senator Spruill.
To Senator Morrison. So even though, so once you notify the other sheriff cannot stop it.
That's correct.
So I want to make sure that he cannot stop it. Okay.
Now, let's be practical about this, Senator Spruill. What could happen is thank you, Madam Chair. Once that other that other sheriff is notified, right, nothing is stopping him from calling the other sheriff at the regional jail and say, hey, whoa, let's maybe put the brakes on and give him his share of his concern. That can take place. So, but you're right, that other sheriff does not have veto power himself.
Let me ask Delegate Bell, do you consider that a friendly amendment?
I mean, it's not the bill that was presented. If that's what the majority of the committee wants, it is certainly better than what we currently have. In just terms of wording, I hear the senator talking about notice. I think, would it be prior notice? In other words, that would be.
Let me ask staff. Staff took notes. Please read the amendment, and then I'll ask for a vote on the amendment. Before the amendment's read. Okay, Senator Boyce, go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the conversation that I'm hearing from my colleague here is talking about if they needed to go to visit a family member or go to a funeral. The way I'm reading this, your bill only applies to a work release program. Could you just clarify that?
So this is actually the furlough section. The work release is in a previous code section. And it says, permit the offender to, for the purpose of visiting home or family. And that's on line 14, and that's current law. That's nothing changes.
Yeah.
And funerals are thought of as family.
Okay, Mr. May, please read the amendment so there's clarity.
Madam Chair, so it would come down to 2 line amendments. The first would be on line 16, after then insert notice of, and the second would be on line 17, after shall be strike subject to approval by insert provided to. So the sentence would read, if such offender is participating in a work release program under the supervision of the administrator of a regional jail, and the furlough would extend the limits of confinement of the offender to a locality not served by that regional jail, then notice of the furlough shall be provided to the sheriff of such locality.
Okay, that's the amendment. It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, the bill as amended is before us. Is there a motion to now vote out the amended bill? Please open the roll. Oh, I need a motion. Okay. Motion has been made to report the bill as amended. Please open the roll.
Madam Chair.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
I think 18 years, I've never had a bill approved by committee before crossover. That's exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Delegate Lopez.
Madam Chair, hello.
Hello, welcome.
Morning to the committee. Joe, how you doing? Madam Chair, may I begin?
You may begin.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is House Bill 1137.
Right. Under Virginia Code 63.26-612, Virginia Initiative for Employment and Work Participants and their families may receive TANF benefits for a maximum of 24 consecutive months. However, the state code provides hardship exceptions to this 24-month limit for VIEW participants experiencing one of the following 4 circumstances. A VIEW participant has been actively seeking employment by engaging in required job-seeking activities but is unable to find employment. 2, unfavorable factors relating to job availability. 3, the loss of a job as a result of factors not related to a participant's job performance, or 4, where the extension of benefits would enable a participant to complete employment-related education or training. I was surprised to learn that none of this information is being tracked by the department. They're not collecting any data points. There's nothing available to local community and folks and policymakers to evaluate the current requirements of the hardship exceptions as laid out in the state code. If they don't know how many people are receiving these hardship exceptions, we can't know how effective the exceptions are at allowing those in need to continue receiving desperately needed TANF benefits. So here's what the bill does. This legislation remedies the problem simply by requiring the department to keep track of the number of VIEW participants who receive an exception to the time limitations for TANF benefits due to hardship and specific circumstances relied upon to grant those exceptions. The bill also requires the department to annually publish non-identifying statistics regarding such information. Again, I would just argue that this is a transparency bill. It's a bill to make our jobs easier as policymakers, and it's to better understand how these 24-month time limit and hardship exceptions are functioning. And it also, as I learned, the fact that we're not collecting this information for over a decade now is problematic, and I think it's the right thing to do at this time.
Thank you, Delegate Lopez, and I think this information would be helpful in determining whether we should continue the 2-year limit or whether we should remove that cliff and perhaps allow, a unique extension up until the 5 years. So this would be useful information. Staff has indicated they can do this within budget. I don't have a note on a fiscal impact. Is that correct? Okay, my information is correct on the fiscal impact. Mr. May.
Madam Chair, just jumping to another issue real fast, I would note for the committee that bill that we passed previously, Senate Bill 187, carried by our chair, which we reported out 15-0, would repeal this very section of the code, 63.2-613. So hardships, this is giving exceptions to the time limitations on TANF. The bill that we already reported out got rid of the time limitations,
That's
so we
correct.
would no longer have hardship.
And I was getting to that point when, as you know, because your bill makes this quite obvious, there are situations where there are exceptions. People are continuing in school. People may have a job training program that goes beyond the 2 years, and we need to allow them to do that. This in no way changes the maximum federal limit of 5 years on TANF. Yours requires the collection of data. Mine actually removes the cliff. So I think both bills should move forward. I don't know what is going to happen with my bill. They are separate bills, so there's no need to conform, and we will see what happens. Okay, a motion has been made and seconded. Senator Morrissey?
Got a question. Good morning, Delegate. I was multitasking, so you might have addressed this, and I apologize. The last words on line 24, and annually published non-identifying statistics. What is the definition of non-identifying statistics?
No addresses, no names, no details that could actually target the researcher to know where the information came from.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry if you've already.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded. I think we're all set. I'm going to ask the clerk to open the roll. Okay, Senator DeStep, you speaking to the motion?
Madam Chair, I'm actually speaking to the financial impact of this. It doesn't seem to be updated in the system. I don't see this in the governor's budget. And it does require a financial impact to do the reports by CMS. But there was a statement that they could do it within existing funds.
Yes, and I did.
But normally when that happens, they update the financial impact, and
It just
I'm not
hasn't.
sure.
It just hasn't been updated. Is there somebody from? Actually, is Commissioner Storin here? I did speak directly to Commissioner Storin about this
If
bill.
the commissioner's good, then I'm
And
fine
he's
with it too,
fine.
then. I agree with the underlying policy.
I do
just
too.
wanted to. I checked the governor's budget last night. I checked this. I didn't see any updates.
Yeah, no, I
still don't see an update.
I spoke to the commissioner and he is fine. Okay, colleagues, the motion has been made and seconded. Will the clerk please open the roll?
Madam Chair.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
Senator McPike?
I'm wondering whether this is better positioned as actually, I don't know if you already have a House companion, but to substitute.
There's not.
Your language.
I don't have a House companion.
Okay, I'm just wondering the posture, because they're in conflict, actually whether that would be better positioned to amend his to reflect your language, because it does away with this section to ensure your vehicle gets out. And I think you guys are dealing with a similar issue, but we have, I think, a conflict at the end of this.
Well, if I may be so, mine would just make his moot. So they're not in conflict. If my bill passes, no data will be needed. If my bill does not pass, data, and his bill survives, data will be collected. I think the better approach is what we just did, which is voting out both bills. Do you have a comment, Mr. May?
Madam Chair, so in substance, the bills don't conflict. The problem is more of a technical conflict in that you cannot amend a section and repeal it at the same time. So it would come down to probably rules of construction as far as which bill is going to take precedence. It might be open to interpretation regarding whether the repeal would trump or whether the amendment would trump, and which bill is signed first, which bill is signed last. I'm not sure how that would be ultimately decided at this
What
time.
is your suggestion?
I think we can talk to the, Madam
You can
Chair.
talk to the
We think
governor.
we can definitely talk to the governor and the policy shop about signing your bill first if they are both able to pass.
I would think so, because I would think you would be in favor of my bill, given the context of yours.
And mine as well, fascinatingly enough.
Madam Chair, that's why.
Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's why I suggested if you conformed your language, put your bill
necessary.
into Senator Lopez, you would have the action as to whether accept or reject it, and then the issue is resolved in the House.
Madam Chair, I don't agree with
Well,
that. I wouldn't go out
wait,
like
Senator
this.
Spruill,
I
wait,
apologize.
you don't have the floor.
I apologize.
Yes, that is a very clean approach, but I also think we can probably do it this way as well. I think we'll go ahead and move forward.
Thank you, ma'am.
At the moment. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee.
Thank you so much. Your bill's passed. Mine is actually in finance, so I'm not sure, mine, yeah. And mine has a clause, and mine does have fiscal impact. So there was a reason for going the two separate ways, but thank you, Senator McPike. Okay, well, I still have Delegate Hope, and I know he's chairing a committee, so is he able to?
Madam Chair, I've heard from the patron, and he said either pass it by for the day or you just conduct
Present it?
Yeah.
It's fairly straightforward. What's the wish of I would prefer to deal with this, and I think Delegate Hope would too. It passed the House 97-0. Let me go ahead and pull up House Bill 278. Okay, Mr. May, you're free to explain it. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, so the only thing this bill would do is basically for people on house arrest. Right now, the director administrator of the home or electronic incarceration house arrest program is required to charge that person a fee for participating in the program that's used towards the cost of the equipment. This would simply allow them to charge versus requiring them to charge.
I think this is a very straightforward bill. Is there a motion to adopt? Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Will the clerk please open the roll?
14 ayes, 0 nays.
Very good. I guess, Senator Boysko, you can inform Delegate Hope. All right, colleagues, that completes our agenda for this morning. Thank you so much.
Kind of mildly irritated a couple of them.